Hello, everybody. It's me again. It's Russell Mills, October 25th, 2021, on a Monday. This is going to be talking about the life of Brian Laundrie. A little instrumental. Okay, I wanted to play a little instrumental, you know what I mean? But, yeah, I just wanted to see, wanted to find out about what's going on with this Brian Laundrie situation, because they said he's dead now. And, let me just get right into it. Hold on. I'm saying something. So let's get right into it.
Is over, but the search for answers about his death remain. Tonight, the nature reserve where search teams made the grim discovery, now open to the public after being closed for a month.
This tiny little park here in Northport, Florida, who'd have thought that this kind of frenzy would be generated?
Cameras getting a close look at the scene for the first time, seeing how dense the woods are and how wet the area is. Laundrie's remains were found in this area deep in the reserve that was recently underwater. Much of the reserve is untamed swamp, home to alligators, snakes, and wild pigs. While the FBI says dental records confirm Laundrie's identity, more information is needed from his remains, which include a portion of a human skull, to determine exactly how the 23-year-old died. After a medical examiner was unable to determine cause of death, the Laundrie family attorney tells NBC News the remains were sent to an anthropologist for further evaluation. The anthropologist specializes in analyzing hard tissues such as bones. Forensic pathologist Dr. Priya Banerjee says investigators will likely use X-rays on the remains, searching for anomalies and fractures or any objects within the bone. But she says determining a cause of death will be a challenge.
I don't envy my colleagues. All the tissues are no longer there. And if there were some sort of trauma, you may not see it. It's like you can't complete a puzzle if you're missing many pieces.
Authorities began a massive manhunt for Laundrie after his fiancée, Gabby Petito, went missing in August. Laundrie named a person of interest in her murder after her remains were found in a Wyoming national park. At Laundrie's parents' home today, a request for privacy.
So sorry for your loss. Thank you. Katie Beck joins me now. Katie, you're getting a close-up look inside the reserve. How severe are the conditions there?
Well, Jose, the conditions are quite extreme. And while we know Brian Laundrie was an experienced survivalist, the heat here, the wildlife, as well as the flooding, these would be difficult circumstances for anyone to endure over a long period of time. Jose?
Thanks for watching our YouTube.
So you see that? You hear that? I'm going to play something else too.
We are back with a Fox News alert. Brian Laundrie found dead in a Florida reserve after the FBI's confirmed the fugitive's remains following a month-long manhunt. But the search for justice is far from over. Fox Nation host Nancy Grace is following what's next for this case in part 2 of her Gabby Petito investigation special, and she joins us now to react. Nancy, I'm curious, what do you think happened here?
Well, I know that. According to the defense attorney for the family, Steve Bertolino, that the evening that Brian Laundrie left home, he was angry and upset, and his parents tried to stop him from leaving. Now, that goes to the theory that he committed suicide. Of course, he was found there at Carlton Reserve. He was identified through dental records because apparently he was totally skeletonized, which is interesting because it hasn't been that long. But his body was underwater as well. There are a lot of wild animals roaming in that area that may have had something to do with it. The fact that he was skeletonized does not preclude the fact that his bones may not be all together. I predict the medical examiner will be on the scene trying to put the body over 200 bones back together again.
What about justice for Gabby?
Well, I've got to tell you, there's not going to be justice for Gabby. This will never be in a court of law, and we will never know exactly what happened to her unless there are enough forensic details from her body, such as his epithelial cells, skin cells under her nails, something to tell us exactly what happened. Was it after a fight? Was it following the argument at the Mary Piglet restaurant? We may never know those answers, but this is what we do know. We believe Brian Laundrie murdered her, and I mean murder. Premeditation can be formed in the twinkling of a moment, the blink of an eye, much less the time it takes to throttle somebody dead as you're looking directly into their face. That's premeditation. So I know she was murdered, and I believe Laundrie did it. How and why, we'll never know.
What about his parents? Do you think they were involved? There are these rumors.
Well, I do find it an extreme coincidence that they go out onto Carlton Preserve, and within an hour, they find his belongings. P.S. I think there's going to be a notebook in that dry bag that will probably have a lot of his ruminations, extremely self-absorbed writings about his thoughts. We may get some clues from that. And then suddenly his body is found. But if you follow that through, that thinking that they planted those items, it doesn't make sense. A logical conclusion would be they planted the body too. That did not happen. I would be more concerned if I were them about aiding, abetting, and encouraging him hiding out from police and not revealing the truth. Here's the fly in the ointment. Unless they did an overt act, they will never be prosecuted.
Nancy, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll see you Sunday night.
Yes, ma'am. So be sure to catch a Gabby Petito investigation with Nancy Grace. It's part 2. It's airing live on the Fox News channel Sunday night at 10 p.m. And you can also catch it on Fox Nation if you miss it Sunday night. We are back.
So this is, this is the lawyer I'm going to play a little bit of this too, just so.
Let's go help people customize and.
This is the world's first reusable cotton swab.
I hate these damn commercials. Horrible. This is the lawyer
So
speaking.
our viewers understand the main reason you are representing the Laundrie family is because you have a long personal relationship with them. I understand you received that grim news that we've just reported. How did you find out, and what exactly did you learn?
Well, yes, good evening, Tom, and thanks for having me. The first thing is, yes, I've known the Laundrie family for over 25 years. Been friends with Chris Laundrie for a long time. I've seen both of his children grow up, Cassie and Brian. And I did learn of the unfortunate news that Brian's remains were confirmed today through Chris Laundrie. Chris had called me, let me know that police had come to his house this evening to inform them that the remains were positively identified.
How were Brian's parents tonight?
Well, Tom, I don't know you if you're a parent or not, but I'm sure every parent out there knows that getting the news that your child is no longer, with you is sad under any circumstances. The fact that the Laundries have been subjected to these people out in front of their house for the last 4 weeks, and they continue out there today, is just making it all the more difficult.
Any idea or theory how Brian may have ended his life?
You know, I don't want to speculate. I try not to do that. I would hope people would stop doing that as well, especially with respect to this case and with respect to, the cause or how Brian is, came to be dead. I don't know. And, we'll wait for, if possible, some type of cause of death from the experts.
Steve, I want to go back to yesterday and that big discovery. I know this is not the first time Brian's parents have aided in the search, but the Laundries did decide to go and help investigators yesterday, both parents. Explain to our viewers what exactly prompted that yesterday.
Well, I think the prompt was that the park or the Myakkahatchee Environmental Creek Park was finally open to the public. My understanding, it was either open to the public on Tuesday or Wednesday, and Chris and Roberta decided that since it was open and available to them, they wanted to go and look for Brian by themselves. After speaking with me, I told them that I wanted to notify law enforcement so that we would have no issue. And, I did text my contact at the Northport Police Department. The response I got was thank you for the heads up. And the law enforcement did show up at 7 a.m. at the park entrance to meet Chris and Roberta.
What do you say to all those people out there who say this is really a strange coincidence? Both parents go out, mother and father, and then suddenly these big clues turn up, including what we now know are the remains of Brian Laundrie.
As I said to you a moment ago, I've known Brian since he was a small child, so this is hitting me today too. I'm a little bit angry that people are even speculating this way. And primarily because, it's not just the Laundries, it's local PD, it's the FBI. It was an independent news person who happened to be there filming. And that's all fortunate that police were there and the film crew was there. The FBI put out a statement. I forget the gentleman's name. He said, listen, we searched this area several weeks ago. It was underwater. There have been numerous people who have said this area was waist deep in water. I think every searcher who was out there will attest to that. So people with firsthand knowledge of the conditions of that park have said that this was under 2 to 3 feet of water, and yet still John Q. Public can't get it in their head that these areas were inaccessible, and the items that were located today, or I should say yesterday, perhaps couldn't be seen. So we're not just saying it. I'm not just saying it. The FBI is saying it. Everyone is saying it. And yet these platforms are still running amok with these ludicrous and I have to say, nonsensical theories of the parents planting things there. I mean, enough is enough.
Steve,
when does it stop? When do people...
Yeah, we are here today, though, because of the disappearance of Gabby Petito and ultimately her death. The Petito family has been very critical of the Laundries. I want to play you a short clip of the Petito family. I want to get your reaction on the other end.
I believe they know probably, if not everything, they know most of the information. I would love to just face-to-face ask, why are you doing this? And just tell me the truth.
You know this family. You're representing them. How would you describe the Laundrie's interaction with law enforcement?
So, as I mentioned a couple of times today to other news organizations, today is not the day to discuss the Gabby Petito case. I understand that was the impetus, that is the reason why all this is happening. But that doesn't explain why people come up with these nonsensical theories as to yesterday's events and some other events. It doesn't explain, Tom, why major news organizations just yesterday on Fox News, an anchor was accusing me of communicating with Brian with a burner phone until his solar power ran out and I could no longer communicate. That was from an anchor. You had pundits on CNN just last night with all kinds of theories. So my anger and my frustration, and when I say, when does it stop? What I'm saying is, when does it stop that these conjecturists, these theorists, people who have no firsthand knowledge, and specifically with yesterday's events, you have people with firsthand knowledge telling you how this played out, and yet people still don't believe it. So I'm going to focus on that. I'm not going to talk about the Petito family. They suffered. No, Tom, let me finish. Yeah. They suffered a grave loss. And on September 14th, when I first went on video, I said there are two families here that have suffered a great tragedy. There are two young people that have now lost their lives. There are parents that are suffering. Now, I understand that. Whatever happened or whatever didn't happen, whatever people know, this is tragic for two families. And anybody with a child and anybody with a sense of humanity can understand the frustration that both families feel.
Steve, on that point, though, and I hear you on that point, though. You mentioned a date. If you could go back, do you wish you would have helped police out a little bit more early on in the investigation? Because Northport Police, to be completely fair, had to tweet at you on September 15th, days after Gabby Petito was already reported missing. Do you wish you would have maybe worked with police a little earlier in this investigation?
So, Tom, I have to tell you once again, I represent the Laundrie family. I'm an attorney. Communications I have with Brian, communications I had and have with Chris and Roberta are confidential. What I wish really doesn't play into it. What I can tell you is, at some point in the future, there may be conversations to be had. There may be information to be discussed. Tonight is not that time. You know, this case is not over. I have yet to speak to FBI personnel. I have yet to speak to Northport Police. I have yet to.
So that's the lawyer that was representing the Brian Laundrie family. So Brian Laundrie, this is Laundrie is a famous craftsman. He's in the spotlight of course, for the death of Gabby Petito. He's been, missing since August 25th. August 25th, 2020. Says Brian is an American citizen based in Florida. He was born on November 18th, 1997, Florida, United States, and he was currently 23 years old. One second. And then this is Brian. This is Brian Laundrie was born on November 3rd. She was born on the 3rd, November 18th, 1997. I don't know. This is Laundrie's father's Christopher Laundrie and his mother's Roberta Richards. Brian has a sister named Cassie Laundrie. He completed high school education at Millbury Union High School. And he completed his college education at New York University. Grew up in Florida, and his family also resides there. And it says Brian Laundrie is famous for being the fiance of Gabby Petito. She's been missing since, again, August 25th, 2021. At the time, the pair were visiting Yellowstone National Park. Gabby is a 22-year-old pastor. Of course, she's no longer alive. And, they've been together for a couple of years now. Gradually, romance grew, and the two repeatedly fell in love with each other. Brian Laundrie proposed to Gabby in 2020. Then the two became engaged. In July of 2021, she and Brian set up on their road adventure. They drove from Florida to New York City at first. Says after that, the pair left Salt Lake City and headed west. They did, however, return from the city in August and avoid the smoke from the wildfires. Finally, they went to Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park. Teal never made it to Yellowstone National Park, where they planned to visit. Brian and Gabby decided to live in a van together. He did, however, return to Florida on his own. Petito's family filed for missing Hearst's report on September 11th after being unable to contact her for many days. It says Brian Laundrie, also with being the fiance of Gabby Petito, is a famous craftsman, model, and TV personality. He's currently waxed strong in the American entertainment industry. Brian is also active on social media handles. He also gained a huge fan following on social media handles. I'm just going to say this. I feel like the parents, they know what's going on. And of course, everybody knows the police, FBI, and everybody else came and spoke to them, been to the house many times. But just like, Babe was saying about the backpack being found and the bones being remains. And I agree, and I believe that where he was at was covered with water. I'm not from Florida. I've never been to Florida, but but I believe that. But, he probably got eaten up by the snakes. Eaten up by the alligators or the pigs or whatever, whatever. Some wild animal probably, wild animals probably, he got attacked, probably killed him. See? But this is the thing now. Who's going to know what's going to happen with this Gabby Petito case? Who's going to ever know? You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. Like, this lawyer, he knows stuff, but he's not going to disclose it because, again, the case is still fresh. He's not going to expose himself. And that's what adults do. That's what adults do. They don't want to expose themselves, expose the truth, because then he might end up going to prison, or Chris and Roberta might end up going to prison for, helping and baiting a fugitive. Because, of course, no parent wants their child to be in prison. But, again, I feel like the Laundries know more than they know. Because, again, why did Brian Laundrie come back to Florida, by himself with the white van and stuff like that, which, with no Gabby? And my question is, if you wasn't happy with her, or if you guys weren't happy, you guys should have broke up. And number two, those number 2 or 3, whatever, those police in Utah, they fucked up. They should have arrested Brian Laundrie or arrested somebody and put them somewhere and called their parents, and which most police officers would have done. But whatever Brian did, he talked his way out of it. Gabby was crying and emotional, and he probably was like so furious about it, Brian Laundrie, that he ended up killing her, strangling her, and stuff like that, and throwing her body probably down wherever that park was, Yellowstone or something like that in Wyoming. My thing is, if you're not happy in a relationship, just leave. You don't need to kill somebody. It's not worth it. It's not worth you going to prison, killing that person. Now that person's family is going to be, losing a family member because of your bad decisions and tragedies. Doesn't make any sense. So, again, I feel like this lawyer, he looks like a crooked person anyway, you know what I mean? And he already said he's been friends with the Laundries for over 25 years. So if you're a friend, what do you think? You're not going to cover your friend? You will. Especially if there's money being involved. Of course. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this whole Gabby Petito death and Brian Laundrie death and the whole situation? Because it's been all over the news for months now. It's crazy, like a month and some change. So, but feel free, everybody, to check out my YouTube channel. Type in my name. It's Russell Mills, RussellMills, May 22nd, 2017. My first video was called Why Black People Settle for Less. Everybody take care. Bye.